Hey, Mahal everyone, welcome back again to the Broadway Saiyan YouTube channel. I am your host 40 and we are back with another video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In today's video, we're going to be doing part 2 of my new series, Weapon Passives, 15 CP versus 35 CP. I got a lot of good feedback from you guys for this new series that I'm doing for the global version of the game, so thank you so much. I do want to address a few questions that were asked during the first video. So someone did bring up, hey Broadway Saiyan, for example, if I have, let's say, Saz, and I already have both of his weapons, shouldn't you just max limit break the 15 CP and then afterwards sell it off for Power Stones and equip the 35 CP? That way you have both passives? Absolutely. As we all know, a character in Opera Omnia is so much better when they have both of their passives. So if you happen to have both, then yeah, equip them. But remember, the purpose of this video is to help new players that are getting into Opera Omnia and also players that don't pull on all banners because they are more free to play. It helps them to understand these characters and how they could still effectively function if you have either one of their passives and which one you should be going for. Like, let's say, oh, I like Onion Knight, but I don't have any of Onion Knight's weapons. Which one would be better to go for as far as passive-wise? So then that way Onion Knight can still function pretty well even if he doesn't have one or the other passive. So this is the purpose of this new series that I'm doing for Global Opera Omnia. And also another reminder, I am not covering any of the World of Illusions 15 CP weapons that certain characters get because I feel like that those passives are a little bit more optional, and I also won't be covering like limited time weapons such as Cloud's Buster Sword NT because that's not a weapon that everybody was able to get. So anyways, let's go ahead and go through part 2 of my weapon passive series. So the first character that we're going to be going over is Tifa. So Tifa has 2 abilities, her first one being Beat Rush, which is a 3-hit melee brave attack. The damage modifier for this ability is a total of 150%, with each hit hitting at 50%. It does have a low chance to inflict attack down for 20% for 2 turns, and then it deals additional damage to skeleton types. So when she's using this ability on a skeleton type, each hit now deals 100% for a total damage modifier of 300%. Her second ability is Battle Cry, which all it does is it increases her own brave times 2 of whatever her current brave amount is. So the 2 passives that she has available to her as far as 15 CP and 35 CP is her 15 CP Tiger Fang passive will increase Beat Rush's damage output. So now it's going to be dealing each hit at 60% for a total damage modifier of 180%. The success rate of the attack down debuff, it's going to be increased, and it's also going to extend the duration to 3 turns. Her 35 CP is called Mithril Claw. We don't have it yet in Global, but I am going to be mentioning it because she will be getting it soon. So when this comes out, it's going to be raising the brave gain of Battle Cry, and it's going to be lowering its action delay. So what is my verdict for Tifa? I would definitely, currently in Global, prioritize her 15 CP passive first, as she is a kind of a brave shaver with that Beat Rush ability, and it improves that aspect of her currently in Global, and that's just going to make her more reliable, because right now, Battle Cry, all it does is it increases her brave times 2 based on whatever her brave is. Now, this is taking into account that if they decide to release her 35 CP to us, if Tifa doesn't get her quality of life buffs, then I would still prioritize her 15 CP. However, if she does, where Battle Cry becomes a much better ability, then I would prioritize her 35 CP first if you want to build her up. But for now, definitely go with her 15 CP first. Next character is going to be one of our fan favorites, going to be Cloud. So his 2 abilities is Cross Slash. So it's a 2-hit melee brave plus HP attack. The damage modifier total is 80%, with each hit dealing 40%. It does have a low chance to paralyze the target for 2 turns, or 1 turn I mean. And then his second ability is Finishing Touch. This is going to be a 4-hit range brave attack. Each hit deals 20% for a total damage modifier of 80%, and it auto initiates the chase sequence or the launch sequence. He has 2 weapons available to us, which is the 15 CP Organics passive. It increases Cross Slash's damage output, now dealing 60% per hit with a total of 120%, and now the chance to paralyze is at a medium rate. His 35 CP weapon is his Rune Blade, so this gives us another usage on Finishing Touch. It increases Finishing Touch's damage output, now each hit deals 50% for a total of 200%, so that's a pretty huge jump there in damage. And then this time it also grants Cloud Max Brave Up plus 25%, Physical Attack Up plus 20%, and small critical hit rate up for 5 turns. So very, very good. So what is my verdict on which passive you should go for Cloud first? So I'm actually going to say that both 15 and 35 CP passives are equally good. So hear me out on this. So the high chance to paralyze is a great clutch. Okay, and even when Cloud only had his organics, he was still pretty effective. A lot of people were still using him and finding really good uses for him. And obviously with his 35 CP, you're gonna have that additional use and plus the increased damage for finishing touch as well as the buffs. However, I feel like if you have one or the other for Cloud, it's still gonna make him a very, very viable character. So for Cloud, if you have either one, I feel like he's still gonna be pretty functional in the game. All right, so our third character is gonna be Hope. So Hope has two abilities, the first one being Shell. Shell raises the party's Brave equal to 60% of his attack. It also grants the party magic damage resist, 50% to the party for 5 turns, and then Protect essentially does the same thing, but this time it's going to be granting physical damage resist for 50% to the party for 5 turns. His two weapons are 15 CP Sky Cutter, so this one grants Hope 20% attack to himself now after using Shell, and then his 35 CP weapon is the Hawkeye, so the passive for that is the Brave granted to the party is now equal to 110% of Hope's attack stat. It also extends the duration of the physical damage resist for 6 turns, and it grants the party a speed up small for 6 turns. So what is my verdict on Hope? Which passive should you prioritize first? So while the 35 CP obviously is the more desirable passive, Hope can actually effectively function even with just his 15 CP, as both of his abilities are very useful as support. So the reason why I say this is when the Vanille Lost Chapter first came out, and we all remember how frustrating that Lost Chapter was when it first came out in Global. Hope only had his 15 CP weapon at the time, and even with that, he was amazing. He was very, very good for that particular Lost Chapter, which is the reason why I'm saying that if you have either one, that makes him a great character and makes him functional. So even if you don't have his 35, or even if you don't have his 15 and you have one or the other, still makes him a really good character. So I'm going to say that both of these passives are pretty equal if you have one or the other. Now the last character we're going to go over for part 2 is going to be Y'shtola. So she has two abilities, Stone being a one-hit Earth Magic Brave attack. Its damage modifier is at 80% and it delays the target by 1 turn. Her second ability is Medica 2, so this grants her allies, not herself, but her allies, Brave based on 60% of whatever her current Brave is. Her two weapons are her 15 CP Thyrus, so the passive for that increases Stone's damage output by 120%, so now it's a total of 120%. And then it also inflicts a defense down, which is a 30% reduction for 1 turn. Her 35 CP Omni Rod passive grants allies Brave now based on 80% of her current Brave, so that's pretty good. And then it also grants Y'shtola a max Brave up to herself for 5 turns. So what is going to be my verdict on this? Definitely prioritize her 35 CP passive first. Right now, Y'shtola works better as that Brave refiller support. Her Stone really doesn't, you can do without the 15 CP if you don't have it, as it only gets a 40% increased damage modifier, and then there's other characters that definitely debuff defense better, so that 1 turn defense down doesn't really need it on the ability, but hey, if you have her 15 CP and her 35, by all means use both, but if you don't have her 15 CP and you only have her 35, she's still a pretty good character to use with that 35 CP. Alright guys, well this is going to conclude my part 2 for this weapon passives series that I'm doing for Global Dissidia Opera Omnia. Again, I hope you guys find this new series useful for you guys, especially for you guys that are newer players, and to those of you that not necessarily pull on every single banner that comes out. Alright guys, my name is 40 the Broadway saying stay tuned for the next video, and Mahal everyone.